Today, people have more means to live and less meaning to live for. I see so many people who are so stuck in their routines because they're just starting their day and ending the day on the same cycle. It's Groundhog Day. Wake up, get the kids ready, make them food, get them off, go to work, back-to-back meetings, no time to kind of step up, rushing through their days, come back home in the evening exhausted because they haven't had a chance to even take a breather. Maybe they ate something, maybe they didn't. We're just on this rinse and repeat, and we're stuck in that cycle because one, we don't have time. But the second is we've created a life that is comfortable. Is it joyful? No. It's comfortable. We're just almost comfortably numb. So there is something that's clawing at us. There is something where when people ask, how are you? We don't say, I'm amazing. People say, I'm busy. Not bad. But we're not living our best life.
Or they just say, I'm good. I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Okay, move on.
And they're not even saying it in a positive. They're like, no, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
Exactly. And I think that's where the reason of stuckness is there is no bigger why.
Welcome to the Relaunch Podcast. I am Hilary DeCesare, and this is one of those moments. It is the beginning of something quantum great. Ashish, so excited that we are doing this together.
It is such a pleasure, Hilary. You know, this journey started almost 2 years ago when you and I met and we released our books, and it was on the same page of the Boulder magazine. And so I'm so excited to be here with you to talk a little bit about our new program and the impact that we're going to leave behind for those who are part of this.
Well, and you know what was so great? When we did have that magazine, we didn't know each other. And
yes.
There we were, two of our, the books are on the page, Hardwired for Happiness, which is your book, The Relaunch, and it's all about spark your heart to ignite your life. And then we met afterwards. And it was one of those like, what can we do together? What can we bring out? What kind of program can we do that can touch lives, that can help rewire and relaunch people into the next best version of themselves?
Yeah. And it was amazing because you had your book. I'd read a little bit about it, right? Our friend Shannon connected us together. And I hadn't read your book. You hadn't read mine. We exchanged it. But even in that moment, right, this is a little bit of the magic. I knew the first time I met you that our energies, our visions, our hearts were so aligned that there was something magical that was going to emerge. And then, right, just energy alone doesn't get work done. And then, like, we got in, our hearts were aligned. And then I had a chance to read your book, and you had a chance to read my book. And we both met up again. And it was so funny because you had my book marked up. I had your book marked up.
Do you remember that? I had all these pages
Absolutely.
tabbed. One of the things that I always do when I'm reading a book is at the very front of the book, I write down page 17 and I write down the line that I love so that I don't have to go back through the whole book.
Right.
Well, I ran out of space with the book and I thought, oh no. So I never really go back to the back of the book and start writing. And I did. And I knew, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a great crossover. This is where we're going to be able to really elevate people. Because how long did it take you to write your book?
It was about 12 months.
Yeah, that's exactly what it took me.
Yeah.
And it was, just a labor of love. It really was. I remember being in my office and my husband would say, are you coming out this weekend? Are you going to come out from, the depths of this office? And now we literally are creating, when you think about Rewire and ReLaunch, I want to talk to you about what is your most significant relaunch? And the way we describe the relaunch is that reboot, that transition to some type of transformation where something has affected you that really changed the course and the direction of your life. What was that?
So, Hilary, I have to tell you this. I've had several, right, relaunches in my life.
Yeah, haven't we all, right?
Right?
Like,
and,
which one to choose?
Exactly. And, before we started recording, I thought I was going to talk about, my relaunch after 25 years working for somebody. 25 years in consulting, 17 years at McKinsey, and before that at 5 other consulting firms, to launching my own business at 48, becoming an entrepreneur for the first time. Right? Talk about that. That's a massive relaunch.
That's a massive one.
Right? It's huge.
It hits
changes
on both
everything.
personal and professional.
Absolutely. But I actually think what I want to really talk about is my relaunch that happened about in 2016, so about 9 years before that. And that, I think, is a pivotal moment. And so, if I rewind back to that, I had spent about a year and a half, Hilary, really struggling with anxiety. I was at the peak of my career. I had come to the country with nothing but $5,000 and one person I knew 25 years ago. And I had found myself in 2016. I had been a partner already for 5 years at McKinsey. I was doing great professionally. We were growing great financially. I had amazing relationships. My family was doing great. We were living in beautiful Colorado. Everything was green. And here I was waking up with anxiety every morning. And I had woken up that way for 18 months, not knowing why. And in the process of figuring out why I was anxious and how I was going to get out of it, right? So a lot of people are, if you're listening, oftentimes we are stuck, but we don't know what to do because everything else seems to be okay. So you don't want to leave what's working. You just want to fix what's not. But often it's not a small shift that's required. And that relaunch for me, Hilary, happened in Portugal. I was at a program that the firm was running. It was 5 days. We were at this old monastery in Portugal. It was the oldest monastery. It was a monastery where the Black Plague stopped. Right? So
wow.
Deeply spiritual energy still in the place. Now, as what's happening in the world today, it was owned now by a Ritz-Carlton. It wasn't an active monastery, but the grounds were still hallowed and kind of maintained. And that's where the program was. And it was at that place, Hilary, for the first time in 18 months, on the third day, after being exposed to a set of practices that are not something that you and I have ever been taught in the traditional corporate world, I woke up without stress, without anxiety. And I cannot describe to you what it feels like when every day for 18 months, when you're woken up feeling anxious, knees to your chest, to one day wake up like, oh my God, it's a beautiful morning. But that was not it, right? It was, I knew this work that we were embarking on works. I could also see there were so many others in that program who were struggling with the same. But the most important piece, I knew at my heart, in my essence, based on the work that we had done over the 2-3 days, my essence had always been relationships. I did all the work that I did up to that point in my life to make a difference for others. That's why McKinsey was a phenomenal platform. And even though I wasn't enjoying my day-to-day, the impact it was having on others kept me on the path. And that was it. That was the week I decided to leave almost 18 years of work that I had done around helping people grow profits, drive revenue, increase cost. And I was going to shift all that. I was going to give up all that, something that clients were lining up to hire me for.
Right.
And I was going to dedicate myself to learn as much as I could about how can we help people flourish and how can I bring that. So that was a big relaunch. And
So when I have to ask you, when you talk about this, I want you to answer this question.
Yeah.
You were at this incredibly important location. What was it specifically that was the relaunch? Just, I want you to net it out. Just it did this for you. What is that?
It was just this. It was so powerful. So till then, I didn't really like what I was doing every day. It didn't tie in with so I was helping a lot of clients save a lot of money. But I've never been very money oriented, right? If you ask me what is the price of milk or I have no idea. I don't negotiate cars when I buy, again, because money's never mattered anything for me. Even though we came with very little money, right? Just to be clear. It's not like, oh, you're so rich, who cares? You don't. No, I've never cared about money. And so when I was grasping to do things that would fill me up, it was just a grasp, And if they didn't work out, smallest piece of struggle, I would go back to my safe ground. Yeah, but people want me for this, so let me just keep doing this. Here's what shifted for me that week. As these three things came into alignment, who I am, how helpful this work can be, not just to me, but to everybody else, and how little people know about it. When those three things came together for me, that alignment, I found my calling. That was the gravitational pull that pulled me out of what I was doing. All of a sudden, it was not good enough. And that was what gave me, that is what really, people tell me, wow, you were so courageous to leave all that and really decide to go down a completely different path. And I always say, it wasn't my courage. I discovered my calling. I discovered my why. And, I'm reminded of this Nietzsche phrase that I only discovered afterwards, right? Those who have a why can survive anyhow. My pre-launch period, there was no why. It was just
so good.
Wanting to change what I wanted. But like the moment something didn't work, I went back to, but this works. Once I found my why, it didn't matter whether people believed it or not. It didn't matter whether the firm supported it or not. I was going to speak my truth. I was going to learn as much as I could. And this is what I was going to do.
And this is why I am so excited to be doing what we're going to be announcing today and allowing this incredible story and journey that you've been on. Because I look at you and yes, you've had all of the check that box success as what we know it today, societal success. And yet, as a happiness, just like coming out of every single pore in your body, it is something that you are so interested in helping people, whether you're a man, a woman, whether you are right now about to change careers, or you're about to launch a new product, or you're trying to figure out legacy. You are doing that, and you are giving people the ability to tap into that. That's where your journey and my journey come together. Because my relaunch occurred very, very similarly, where it was like kind of at a point where I was at a very low point. I had launched a business. I had been doing it for 4 or 5 years. I was struggling with like, what is really going to happen? Has anyone out there thought about like, how do you end something that isn't really working for you? Right. And I kept raising money, and I had gotten almost to $10 million, and I had a fiduciary responsibility for the people that had invested. And there was this board member that just every time I heard his name, every time I was on a call, every time I was in person, I had this intuitive like, this is so wrong. It is not where you are supposed to be going. And unfortunately, I should have listened to my intuition much earlier, because what happened was he ended up doing a Ponzi scheme with not just my company, but with another couple. And when he finally took down my company, and I didn't even know why, I didn't understand like what was really happening here. And I kept doubting everything. And at this point, I had like the highest of highs in my career. And I couldn't put the pieces together, but I knew something was terribly wrong. And we finally had to shut down the company. And literally a couple weeks after, I got a call from the SEC, the Security Exchange Commissioner, saying, we're investigating this board member. We think he did a Ponzi scheme. And would you be willing to give data, to give anything on your computer that might give us more insight into what happened? And at that point, I said, you know what? I'm not just willing to give you some. I'd like to...
Let me give you my computer.
Let me give you my hard drive. And please do whatever it takes, because I knew in my heart, which is what you talked about, that this was a change of events. This was going to impact everything. And after that, and he did end up going away to federal prison for 3 years, I had something called what most people would call it a midlife crisis. I called it an identity crisis. And it was when I didn't know who I was anymore. And from the outside, like you discussed, it looked great, like everything was perfect. But it wasn't. I was going through a divorce. I had melanoma. I had 3 little kids that I was trying to be a good single mom to. And the relaunch hit me like a ton of bricks. And I thought, you know what? I got to change, and I've got to change everything. And how was I going to do it? And that's where the relaunch process came out of. And so let's move in to the second part of what we're really going to be diving into in this next incredible segment.
Let's do it.
Ashish, it doesn't seem like it matters whether you're 40, 50, 60 plus. There is so much of this ability for people to be like, I feel stuck. I feel stuck. You have been able to really put a process together that is so impactful. I've used it. I think it's something that is unusual, and it gets to the heart of why people feel stuck. Can you explain it a little bit more?
Yeah, Hilary. So, first of all, as you said, like this program that we designed, really it's for anyone, right? It's true for entrepreneurs. It's true for moms, whose job is to raise their families, take care of their kids. It's for, women who are balancing both career and, personal lives. It's true. It's helpful for people who are working in corporate roles. It's helpful for people who've started their own companies. Like really, and what I find often is the reason across all of these why people feel so stuck is, I would say, we're living a certain way, and we're experiencing, what Viktor Frankl called out in the 50s. So Viktor Frankl, for those who don't know, he's the creator of logotherapy. He was one of the survivors of the Auschwitz concentration camp. He had written a completely new approach towards therapy, which was logos is meaning. So it was therapy, and his whole belief was that people's search is not for power and control and fame. It's for meaning. We're searching for meaning. And he said something in the 50s that's actually is more true today, Hilary, than I find in the 50s when he said it. He said, today, people have more means to live and less meaning to live for. Let me repeat that.
Right.
People have more means to live and less meaning to live for. I see so many people who are so stuck in their routines because they're just starting their day and ending the day on the same cycle. It's Groundhog Day. Wake up, get the kids ready, make them food, get them off, go to work, back-to-back meetings, no time to kind of step up, rushing through their days, come back home in the evening exhausted because they haven't had a chance to even take a breather. Maybe they ate something, maybe they didn't. Rinse and repeat. Kids need to be fed, kids need to be bathed, or I'm going to cook something, maybe I go get a workout, and then I'm going to sit down, I'm going to just binge something for an hour, hour and a half, and I'm going to go to sleep. Maybe I connect with my spouse, maybe I don't. Maybe we talk about what needs to be done tomorrow, maybe we don't. But we're just on this rinse and repeat, and we're stuck in that cycle because one, we don't have time. But the second is we've created a life that is comfortable. Is it joyful? No. It's comfortable. It's just keeping us, we're just almost comfortably numb. So there is something that's clawing at us. There is something where when people ask, how are you? We don't say, I'm amazing. People say, I'm busy. Not bad. But we're not living our best life.
Or they just say, I'm good. I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Okay, move on.
And they're not even saying it in a positive. They're like, no, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where the reason of stuckness is there is no bigger why for what their life is about. They're not connected to that. And then the other thing that happens is, even if there is a why, they know what they want more of. Very rarely do they step back and say, am I spending my time in ways that help me get to that why. And that's why we created, when we start this program together, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have people take an assessment. Step back and holistically think about 4 domains in your life: wealth, health, love, and meaning. 4 key ingredients to living a life filled with satisfaction and joy. Look, we need money. We need a certain level of money. For some, it might be 300,000. For some, it might be 1 million. For some, it might be 10 million. For some, it might be 1 billion. We're not judging. Choose your number. But really assess, in terms of what you've created, where are you? Second is health. We spend more money in our later years trying to earn back health that we give away in the first half of our lives.
True.
Right? Those sacrifices, those withdrawals never come back. Love. Highest driver of flourishing is the quality of our relationships, right? Really, really critical. How are we feeling in our relationship bucket with our family, our spouse, our friends, our community, our professional network?
And there's so many studies around how important our relationships are.
And how little we invest in it. Mm-hmm. And then the last is meaning. Like, what is your bigger why? What are you in the service of? What lights you up? What are you born here to do? Being able to integrate that meaning into your life. So we help people, one, assess that, and that's what you're going to do, right, if you're thinking about joining the program. And second, we're going to think about where you spend 168 of your hours. We all have 24 hours and 7 days in a week. And we're going to help you assess where you're spending your time. And as part of the program, we're going to help you make a shift. One tiny shift every week to get you more of what you want.
I love that we're asking people to gain clarity around the different 4 quadrants. I mean, it's an opportunity at this point in their lives to take the most important assessment, literally. And when you think about your subconscious brain and you think about being stuck and the fact that 95% of everything we do from when we wake up till we go to bed is just on autopilot. It's what you did yesterday. It's your thoughts around every single thing that you're doing throughout the day. Your subconscious has 2 things that it does. It keeps you safe and familiar. And what is safety is, I need to have this amount of money. Right? How many times have people said, well, when I hit this amount, I'm good.
Exactly.
And then they don't, right? And then they don't retire. They don't do what they said they were going to do. Then it becomes, well, I'll put this next gate out there. I need to hit the next one. And so safety is all around how you perceive safety to be. It's not what you're viewing safety. As you said, you came to this country at $5,000. I mean, it's incredible, your story. And our stories are so different, yet energetically, they're so aligned. So for people coming into this program, they're going to understand their own level of safety. And then they're going to understand their familiarity of what is familiar about their day. Like it's going to be like a snow globe, and we're going to shake it up. We're going to put in what they think they're doing. And I don't even know if you know this. There was a point where after I got divorced, I became a matchmaker because I wanted to see what is it about creating relationships with people, with yourself. Well, after I did that, and I still kept it around the business front, I realized how important, the most important relationship is not with your family, it's not with your friends, and not with your coworkers, it's with yourself. And in order to have the best possible relationship with yourself, you have to break through that familiar zone. And it is your comfort zone. And you said it the best, that it's like that, it is the comfortable spot. And we become complacently comfortable. And one thing that we're going to be doing in our program is not allowing people to put on those comfy slippers and just hang out in your, lazy boy. We're going to make you get up, assess your own stories, assess your own belief system, and decide if your why is something, then how are we going to get you there?
Yeah. And, if I can add, Hilary, not only are we going to help you do that, but I think we're going to try and help you do it thoughtfully, because here's what happens. Look, we are all a bit like pressure cookers. At some point, when the pressure builds, the valve goes off. And unfortunately, when that valve goes off in unpredictable ways, it can show up in the form of a disease. It can show up in the form of a relationship that ends that you didn't see coming. Mm. Or you do it yourself. You one day say, I've had enough. I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to go do something else because this isn't it. I'm going to leave my wife, or I'm going to leave my husband because this isn't it. I'm going to have an affair because I'm needing more something in my life. I'm going to just sell my house, leave everything, and I'm going to get on the road, right? So people take these extreme actions, which, by the way, get them back to where they were because there is something that they haven't fundamentally changed, which we'll talk about here shortly.
But we don't need to blow up our entire lives. That's the best part.
Exactly. Because if we are not intentional, and that's part of our hope, is we're going to do it in a way where you step back and really look at your life rather than react. We don't want you to react. We want you to evaluate at a distance and in a safe space with others. Consciously think about the shift you want to make and enable.
Oh, let's go into that segment right now. The rewiring around what we have foundationally created and blowing that up.
Yeah, beautiful. To make a shift out there, right? So we're going to start, as we discussed, helping people really assess where they are in these 4 domains, and then consciously make a plan out there to be able to get there. But Hilary, what I loved about Relaunch, the tool that I want you to talk a little bit about, is the Belief Blaster. Because anything we create out there needs to start from a change in here. And you have such a beautiful tool, so powerful, proven across thousands of people you've coached. Share a little bit with our listeners on what the Belief Blaster tool is and how it works.
I think it's one of the most powerful things that you can do for yourself. And it's something that changes everything. You talk quantum leaping, your life, your business, your success. We talk about success like speed. We talk about success and happiness like speed, all of these things. But the real question is, people have a really tough time trying to figure out how to do it. And habits, yes, tiny habits, atomic habits, we can change things very quickly. The problem is they don't last. And we know this because think about beginning of the year, New Year's resolutions. I'm so into going to the gym, and it's the biggest month of gym memberships. And then about the 3rd week, you go in there and there's nobody in there anymore. So what we have to be thinking of is the brain is this magnificent. It's the most incredible computer that you've ever imagined. And it's got a hard drive that is on auto repeat. We talked about everything is automatic. Well, when you want to change, you can't just think it and it will change. We have to be rewiring, hence the fact we're calling the program Rewire and ReLaunch. We have to rewire our brain.
Yes.
And that does not happen overnight. I hate to tell everyone, you have had these thoughts and these emotions that have been repeating over time. Maybe let's say you're 55 years old and you started to have a limiting belief that was given to you by somebody in your family when you were 5 years old. That means that you've been carrying this for 50 years.
Absolutely.
So when you think about it, and I like to kind of bring in an analogy here where there's a highway and you've got the fast lane, which is you're in a convertible and your hands are up and you're driving along. You're like, wow, you got your hands on the wheel, then hands up, and you're just so excited to be there. Again, wind in your hair. And then all of a sudden there's this big Mack truck to the right of you, and it's chasing you down. And every time that you're feeling like, this is going really well, this habit is going really great, that Mack truck starts to try to go faster than you. And you're like, what the heck? I can't even get out of this lane now unless I slow down. And I want everyone to think about that's what your limiting beliefs are doing. They may not pop up all the time, but they will pop up when you're trying to get off out of that lane. You're trying to get off the highway. And all of a sudden, this belief like, oh, you're not good enough. Oh, wait, fear of success. What's going to happen? Fear of freedom. Like, what's going to happen if you don't have this? What's always constantly pulling you back. So when you have a limiting belief, I call them your bugs, your beliefs underground surfacing, your bugs. And they will always roar their ugly heads when you least expect it. Things are going great for you? Perfect. And then all of a sudden, Q1
it comes up.
Yeah, Q1, you've just had the greatest quarter of your life. And then all of a sudden, Q2, it hits rock bottom. What is happening? What's happening is your bug has been dormant, has been lying quietly, and as soon as you feel like things are going well, it pops up. And so what do we do? How do we handle that? How do we get to the point where that Mack truck starts to literally in your rearview mirror disappear? And it, again, does not happen overnight. Neuro-based, your mind, in order to create a new belief, a new empowering belief, and get rid of an old limiting belief, it takes 62 to 67 days to actually have it in scans break apart. And what we're going to do in our program is we are going to go through a 5-step process where you become aware of your limiting belief. You then release and realize that you are not your limiting belief and that you've actually seen it. It's not your reality. You've seen it where it hasn't happened. Then you write a release letter and you do an amazing, I think that people literally have said that in that release section, there's a mirroring exercise that will, floor you. It's like it brings tears, it brings emotions out that you never even knew were inside of you. And then the 4th step is this idea of the relaunch flip, flipping that limiting belief into an empowering one. And the last, which you love, is the rewiring. And that, again, we break it into such easy steps that usually, why are we doing our program and why is it going to take this 40 days? Because what you're going to see is about the 21-day mark. That Mack truck starts to feel like it's not on top of you. It's not driving who you are. It's not sabotaging everything that you're trying to do. It literally starts to disappear in your rearview mirror.
You know, this was one of those moves, Hilary, that really spoke in the book to me. And it was so in sync with my own experiences, right? So in the 9 habits, the 9 hardwired for happiness practices, self-awareness was at the heart of it. Right? And that's what this practice in your book and in your programs was so powerful. We were so synced. You know, friends, and Hilary talked about this notion of a Mack truck, right? Mm. There is somebody else who speaks about this beautifully, and it is Anais Nin. And I want you to, again, tune into this beautiful quote from her. We see the world as we are, not as the world is.
That is so powerful.
Right? We see the world as we are. So we are creating our own realities, and oftentimes our lenses are coloring what we are seeing and we don't even realize it. And so remember that quarter that Hilary talked about was your best quarter? Deep underneath, we were laying the seeds for why the second quarter is not going to be there, and we didn't even know it because it wasn't conscious. But that's how these work. And for the first time, you know, what I love is you'll have a tool that, one, brings you face to face with that belief. The Temple of Apollo, inscribed at the face of the temple, know thyself. Know yourself. Step back. You are not your belief. You're the one holding that belief, which means you can change that belief. And you need to change that belief if you want to make a shift and make the reality of what you want to achieve in the wealth, health, love, and meaning. Because without that belief, no amount of external things are going to get you there. And so I'm really excited.
Well, and you got to think about this. You can't change unless you change. And that's what we're really going to be focusing on. We're going to take people through a process that they don't even realize what's going on deep inside their head, this incredible, super powered computer system. And we're going to literally just rewire it.
Yes.
So there's going to be so many amazing things. But as we continue to go forward, I want to talk about something that both of us really hold in just the biggest esteem, which is the energy around making change. So let's start talking about that.
Yeah. So look, to make these shifts, to make anything possible out there, one, you need to change how you see the world, right? So now I have a from and I have a to. We've got both of those. But you're the one who has to walk it. Knowing is not enough. Knowledge is not power. Practice is power. And so to walk that journey, you need energy. You need to fill your cup. And by the way, if you have heard this beautiful saying, if you want to go far, go alone. Right? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. Again, community shows up. So as part of the program, we're going to introduce you to these 4 domains that you can tap into to fuel your journey. Because if you don't tap into those, with all the busyness in the life that we have, all the places, you're like, you end your day exhausted today. Probably many of you. You feel like we're constantly running. Where are you going to find the time to do this work? And that's where these energy enhancing practices come in. We're going to look at 3 domains when it comes to well-being. Physical. We're going to look at sleep. We're going to look at nutrition. We're going to look at movement. We're going to look at 3 domains that are mental. We're going to look at being present, mindfulness. We're going to look at when we focus. We're also going to look at spiritual. We're going to look at elements that nature can help us. We can introduce play. And again, broadly learning from other wisdom traditions. So we're going to look at all of that, and we're going to help you choose some things, your special sauce for you. You will choose it, not us.
Because everyone really has their own, what really resonates with them.
Exactly.
And it can't, but we are going to give them ideas, suggestions, and then what is really, we call law of resonance, and you know how I feel about, ancient wisdom and universal truths. We're going to be sharing those. And then they get to, you as the person coming in, gets to actually figure out what is it about that? I want to try it. And we're going to have enough time. That's why the 40 days is so important, to really give them an opportunity to try some of the different modalities.
Exactly. So we're going to do that to kind of, again, these 3 domains, mind, body, spirit. But don't forget, we're also going to do this. We're going to help you both within the program create and find accountability partners who will be with you, cheering you on, keeping you accountable, inspiring you, lending you their own networks to help you make the shift that you want to make. And we're going to help you tap into your own personal networks, something that you might not have thought about. There's a beautiful video from Steve Jobs that I watched that really inspired me. And he talked about this notion that most people are so afraid to do. They don't ask for help. They don't ask people they know that they care about for help because, I don't want to bother them. They're not going to help me. And he said, I've never come across anybody who I asked for help and they did it. And this wasn't, by the way, when he was rich and famous and successful. Even as a kid, I think he reminds the story, he tells the story of, I think he called one of the Hewlett Packard's founders. because he wanted some transistors and chips.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, come on over and I'll give it to you. So we're going to help you really think about the shift you want to make from to. One, internally, how are you resourced? But externally, we're going to help you identify who can help you get there so that collectively you will go far in this journey and make the transition from to the to.
Oh, this Rewire and Relaunch program, as you're saying that, and I'm thinking about 3HQ, which is the headquarters of you, the head, the heart, the highest self, and how so many times we're only focused in one area or we can't get out of our head. How do you tap into your heart? How do you connect with people that are going to vibrationally, energetically be on that same level so that you continue the journey ahead? The path, it's not one of those where you're trying to like prune it as you go. It's literally right before you and you know your next step. So as we wrap up, and people at this point, when they're like, yes, this is something I've been waiting for. This is something, we bring the yin and the yang together. We bring the masculine and the feminine energy together. I want people to be able to go to rewireandrelaunch.com, where they can read more about your journey, my journey, what we're going to be doing every single week along this program. And I invite them to be willing to open themselves up to what they know down deep has been missing. And that ask yourself right now, is the relaunch method, is the rewire, is the Hardwired for Happiness book, when you combine it with Relaunch, Spark Your Heart to Ignite Your Life, are you getting that flicker? Are you getting that like spark right now that's saying, this is what you've been looking for? And Ashish and I are coming together right now in a very rare, like you said at the beginning, it's taken us 2 years to work our schedules out so that we can deliver this. And I got to tell you, I have never been more excited about a program.
Same here, Hilary. And friends, really, I invite you for a moment to go inwards. Look, we overestimate our time on this earth. We overestimate our time on this earth. And every year goes faster. So I invite you to listen to yourself and say, is my day today? Am I living every day as if this is my last? Because it very well might be. And if you're not absolutely getting a hell yes, and you've often wondered this, but you've not felt others that you could discuss this with, frameworks that you could apply, not read about, but apply together to make the shift, I invite you on this journey together. Now, I promise you, if you go all in, only then, it doesn't matter what Hilary has discovered, what I've discovered, how many people we have helped. The common quotient in all of that has been, one, people wanting to make a change. By the way, there's lots of those. But two, people willing to take action and really be open, shed all of those walls, be bare, be raw, take the action. If you take the action, we're there with you. We will cheer you. This is our why. This is the reason we are doing the work in the world. And we want to be able for you to get that gift, to rewire and relaunch your best life that's waiting for you.
So right now, you can go to rewireandrelaunch.com, sign up. We have priced it at a price that really would never be anything that would say, I can't do that. This is a course that's a passion play for us. And so instead of having it be $1,997, we've priced it at $497 for 40 days. And there's going to be 6 weeks involved. where we have in person in Boulder, Colorado, the first session, the last session, and then the ones in the middle, the 4 in the middle, will be virtual.
Looking forward to having you. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Hopefully you took away some things that you can start to apply, or at least curiosity. And I really look forward, Hilary, to doing this work together with you. 2 years in the making. Thank you for really collaborating, co-creating together, and making this gift possible.
Here is to rewiring and relaunching. You, as you're sitting out here listening, this is your next step. Take care, everyone, and we'll be back next time.
See you. Bye.